and welcome to the YouTube channel for Catch. My name is Sam and I am the founder and lead coach here at Catch. And remember that unshakable confidence is the key to getting everything that you want in life and dating. So on this channel we talk about everything to do with confidence, mindset, and how to apply that in your dating and relationship life. Today we're going to be talking about how dating is energy and how important the energy and the intention that you're putting behind your actions and behaviours in dating, how important that is and how that can come across subconsciously even if you don't mean it to. We as humans can read each other's energy, and there's been so many times, and I'm sure that you've experienced this as well, where you've been with friends and you've both thought or said the same thing at the same time, or you thought of a friend or someone that you're dating and just as you think of them or a few minutes later you receive a text from them. Or we can meet somebody new or a friend of ours and just instantly read how they're feeling on that day, whether they're feeling good, bad, something might have happened. You can see, even with people that you don't speak to, if somebody's feeling sad or anxious that day or in a really good place, just by how they carry themselves, their body language, and something that you can sense. And it's interesting because then when it comes to dating, often a lot of the advice that we see online or in books is really focused on our behaviours and the exact actions that we're taking, and doesn't necessarily take into account the energy that goes behind those actions and behaviours and why we decide to, or what drives us to operate in certain ways when it comes to dating. However, it's interesting that when it comes to dating, often a lot of the advice that we see online or in books or from friends is more about the actions and the behaviours that we put in place. So how often we text someone, what sort of things we say in text messages, how we show up on dates or how we act around people, but it doesn't always consider what is it that drives those attractive behaviours. What is it that's attractive about certain actions or behaviours or ways of texting or ways of showing up on dates, and where does that come from? Because for some people those attractive behaviours and actions are natural, so how can we go a layer lower than some of those behaviours and actions and shift the energy that we're in and how we're feeling so that then those behaviours and actions become natural? And again, I'm sure that you've experienced when you've been dating somebody, even if somebody does take a while to text you back, you can just sense if they're really into you or not, just by how they are when they're around you. And you can sense some of that energy through text messages or how they interact with you. Or you might just know before you've even met someone, just by observing them in a room or by looking at their dating profile, that you're going to get on with them. And why is that? It's because of the energy that comes across from that person and what you're reading about them. So how can we focus more on that so that the outcomes that we're getting in dating and in other areas of life are easier and simpler and more what we want, because we're shifting that energy and how we feel within ourselves. To make the most of this, what it means is we need to be focused more on our internal feeling state, our intentions, our assumptions, and the energy that goes behind certain actions and behaviours, more so than the exact behaviour and actions we put in place. And it's quite freeing when we do that, because it means we don't need to stress about a particular text or how we respond to a specific situation, and we don't have to overthink those little things. It's more about building that self-awareness and how we feel and what goes behind the action that we need to put our attention onto. And the way to do that is to very deliberately throughout the day bring that awareness back to ourselves and how we're feeling internally, and be conscious of if our emotions are more heightened, if we're stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, feeling fearful about something and therefore want to bring some distance between us and that situation, if maybe we're avoiding certain situations, versus when we're feeling very calm, relaxed and centered and confident within ourselves. And deliberately interacting with people that we're dating, whether that's even sending a like on a dating app or sending a text message or organising a date, try and do that always from the most positive, calm and central space that you can. So throughout the day, if you are feeling stressed and overwhelmed, deliberately taking a step back and not dealing with that situation at that point, or maybe not responding to someone that you're interested in that moment, taking that step back, working on yourself, nourishing yourself, doing what you need to feel better, whether that's exercise, seeing friends, distraction, watching some TV, getting some things done, meditation, breath work, doing whatever we need to do to feel good and positive, and then coming back to that situation so that when we're interacting with somebody, especially early on in dating, we're doing that from the most positive and centered place, because that's going to help nourish that connection and show up as the best version of ourselves, and also see the most positive version of the situation, rather than making any negative assumptions just because we in ourselves are in a more stressed place. Similarly, ideally we should plan dates on days that we're feeling good, or maybe have more time before the date to get ourselves into a good place, or time after the date, so that we can do those things that make us feel good, whether that's speaking to a friend before, doing some of that breath work or meditation, having some time to relax after work and read a book before going out on that date. Just planning it on days and at times where we can get ourselves into the best possible place to enjoy that. And that's going to be different person to person. For some that might be maybe coming straight from work and not having time to overthink the situation. For others it might be planning it on a day that you're off work, so that you have the time before to relax, enjoy yourself, get ready slowly, chat to a friend if you need to, and then go into the date in the best possible frame of mind. And also giving us the space after dates to reflect on how the date has gone, bring ourselves back to calm, even if it was a brilliant date and we're excited, bring ourselves back to calm so that we can reflect and see how we feel, and go back to prioritizing and nourishing ourselves either side of a date. The other thing that we can do is deliberately make good assumptions. So even at times where maybe our emotions are a bit heightened, looking at the situation, trying to be as objective as possible. And with any situation, we can take a very positive assumption or perspective on the situation, or we can go for something more negative, and we get to choose that perspective. So for example, if you are feeling more stressed, it can be easy to get caught into a more negative perspective. So if someone hasn't responded for a few hours, starting to question whether they're interested or whether it's going to progress, or start to overanalyze previous actions and whether you did exactly the right things. If you can go back and just nourish yourself and get into a more positive frame of mind, you'll notice that you'll naturally start to make more positive assumptions and think, oh no, they're probably just busy, or they're working through things so that when they speak to me, they're in a better frame of mind. And then you can also deliberately start to tell yourself those narratives and reassure yourself in that way as well. And they feed one another. So deliberately making those positive assumptions, but also giving yourself the space and doing the things you need to feel positive, will help you look at a situation positively, and then that creates a more positive outcome, because you will naturally respond in a way that is more solution focused, sees the person in the best light, assumes the best out of them, and then that brings the best out of them, and it continues to develop in a more healthy way. Of course, that's generally if you're seeing behaviours which aren't quite resonating with you, you can step away at that point, nourish yourself, and if you're still feeling good and looking at that situation and it's not making you feel good, you can walk away from that situation or communicate that with the person and try and resolve it. But it's always best to take that step back, think about your energy, how you're feeling internally, and then you can better assess that situation and focus on the solution, rather than getting caught into some of these negative stories or focusing on some of the potential challenges. So in summary, what we're saying is, build that self-awareness, really understand throughout the day and before you take actions in dating how you're feeling internally, what perspective you're putting on something. Are you clouded by other stresses that are going on, or maybe anxious or avoidant thoughts that are coming up? Try and bring yourself back to calm and centered so that you can assess the situation from the most objective and positive place possible to create the best outcomes, and really be aware of the energy and the intent that is going behind your actions and behaviours, and make sure you're putting yourself and your feeling state first, and that dating is fitting into, or that nurturing those connections is fitting into what works for you and your timetable and how you're feeling. And also, we've talked about this in other videos, the other benefit of this is that by following this method, you're actually putting yourself first, and putting how you're feeling and what makes you feel good as the most important thing in your dating life. And that's going to keep you grounded and help you develop very healthy connections where you have two independent, healthy people maintaining their own emotional balance and then coming together and improving one another's lives. And that will come across subconsciously and through your energy as well. And people will also start to put you first and prioritize you and have a lot of respect for you if you are prioritizing yourself and putting yourself first through the dating process. So hope that helped. Would love to hear your comments below if any of that resonated with you, or if there's any particular things that have worked for you on this topic in dating. Thank you for liking, commenting, sharing and subscribing, and see you in the next one. Thanks, bye.